Welcome to Flash Video Basics Part 6. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create a buffering message for your user so that they know what's going on as your video is buffering. So last time we created a scrubber here, and now we're going to be creating a movie clip that's going to show when our buffer is empty. So I'm going to go up to the layers, and I want to put a new layer above the video and under the control bar. So I'm just going to highlight that, click the new layer, and I'm going to call it buffer. Okay, now I'm going to lock all the layers just to make sure they're all locked and unlock the buffer layer. Okay, I'm going to grab the rectangle tool and I'm going to have no stroke with a black fill. I'm just going to drag a rectangle out at any size, go to the hit V to go to the move tool, highlight it, then come down here and put in my exact dimensions, which are 320 by 240. Okay, so now let me position this up over our video. Okay, now I want to turn this into a movie clip. So I'm just going to highlight it and hit F8. I'm going to select movie clip and I'm going to call it buffer. And like always, I need to give it an instance name, and I'm just going to call it buffer clip. Okay, so now I want to double click this to go into edit mode. Okay, so this is my background. I want to have this on the bottom layer. So I'm going to call this layer back, and I'm going to lock it and create a new layer. And I'm going to call this new layer text. This is going to have the text that's going to say that the video is buffering. Okay, I'm going to grab the text tool, and we come down here and set up my text properties. I'm going to make it white. And I'm using a pixel font called Standard here. So I'm just going to type out buffering video. Okay, I want to place that in the upper right hand corner. And if you've never worked with pixel fonts, the key to keeping them crisp is that the X and Y coordinates have to be whole numbers, and the size has to be a multiple of 8, and usually it's always at 8. Okay, so I want to turn this into a graphic so I can fade it in and out. So F8, change it to graphic, and I'm just going to call it buffer text. Okay, so now I want to go up to the timeline. I'm just going to insert some frames. Okay, I'm going to put a keyframe about 4 frames in. Put another one about the same distance. I'm going to highlight that middle one, and I'm going to decrease the opacity of this text to 0. So I basically want to fade this text in and out really quickly. Okay, so I see it's at 0. Now just right click in here, create motion tweens, and I can just get rid of these frames now. Okay, so now my clip is set up, and it will be quickly flashing that buffering video text just so the user is drawn to that text. Let me go back out to the root timeline. Okay, so now this is here. Now we need to write our Actionscript code to know when to show or hide this clip. So highlight that first keyframe in the Actions layer. Okay, come to the Actions window, and we're going to set up all of our buffer code right after we create the NetStream object. So I'm going to come in here, add a couple of lines. The first thing we have to do is to set the buffer time, which basically is how much a video will be buffered before it starts playing. And you can see the set buffer time method expects the number of seconds. So I'm going to give it 30, and which is probably a lot longer than you'll actually use, but this is just so you can see it working. So now it will buffer 30 seconds of video before it starts playing. Now we need to set up the onStatus event for the NetStream. Okay, so onStatus equals function. Now when the NetStream calls this, it sends to this function an information object that we need to catch here with a parameter. So I'm just going to call it info. Okay, now in this information object there's a parameter property called code which we need to check. So we're going to say if info.code is equal to. Now to find out the various things that it could be equal to, all you have to do is come down to the help window, and you can see I've already done this, but what I've done previously is just search for NetStream and click on the NetStream class, and here's all the methods and properties available to the NetStream class, and you see this event on status, and we scroll down. Here are all the possible values for this code property, and right here we see netstream.buffer.full, which is sent to the on status when the buffer is full, and that's what we want. So I just copied that text. So if info code equals buffer.full, then we know the buffer is full and we can turn off that buffering clip. So we're just going to say buffer clip dot underscore visible is equal to false. So we're not removing the buffer clip, we're just making it invisible when the buffer is full. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do is I'm just going to copy this and paste it below just to save time. We're going to do the opposite when the buffer is empty. So again, if you're confused about what to put, just look back here and we see there's a netstream.buffer.empty. So all I need to change here is full to empty, and now I want to make it the visible property true, so it will show again. So when the buffer is full, we don't want to see the buffering clip. When it's empty, we want to turn it back on. Okay, so there's one more thing we're going to do in here in the on status while we're here. It's when the video is completed, we want it to go back to the beginning and start again. We're basically going to loop it. We see here one of the values is netstream.play.stop, which is sent when your video is over. So we're going to test for that. Say if info code is equal to netstream.play.stop, we're going to seek back to the beginning of the video and start it again. So ns.seek, and we want to seek 0 seconds in, which is the beginning. So this way you can loop the video, and once it gets to the end, it will start playing again. So once again, we set up that on status, catching the info object, checking to see if the buffer is full. When it is, we want to turn off the buffering movie clip. When the buffer becomes empty, we want to show that movie clip again. And when the video is at the end and has stopped playing, we want to bring it back to the beginning to start it again. Okay, so let's test the movie now. Now we can see that buffering video message is flickering. It's waiting for 30 seconds to load, and there it goes. It's just loaded 30 seconds, and now it removes itself and the video plays. So as a side note, if you wanted your whole video to load before it started playing, you just set the buffer time equal to the length of your video. And now if we drag to the end, we should see when the video is over, it should go right back to the beginning and start playing again in a loop. And having it loop is only just one possible implementation. You can actually code it to do whatever you want after it's over. So thanks for watching.